This is ABC Radio Brisbane with Rebecca Livingston.
There's rubbish and there's rubbish. And you know what someone will throw out, someone else will see as really valuable, right? You see that all the time. Curbside collection, just in life, stuff people are giving away. But what about medical waste? It's a little more complex than your average bin contents. And Brisbane nurse Claire Lane was so appalled by the medical waste she saw on the job, she started something called Save Our Supplies. It's a not-for-profit charity that repurposes medical waste from hospitals so that it can be used for people who perhaps can't afford it. Claire won an ABC Community Spirit Award last week. Thrilled to have her back in the studio. Hello, Claire.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Congrats on the award.
Thank you.
Have you been wearing around an imaginary crown?
I have won my first ever trophy. It's pride of place up on the wall.
Yay! Yeah. Excellent. All right, tell us the story of how you reached a point as a nurse. You went, you know what, I think we can do something more valuable with this medical waste.
Yes, well, we throw away it if it doesn't reach our standards, it just gets thrown straight in the bin. And after weeks on end of throwing away perfectly usable items like gowns and gloves and syringes and everything that you could use, and it just went into the bin because there was little nicks in the outside of the packet and things like that. Or if somebody accidentally touched the side of a gown when they were opening it, it would get thrown into the bin. And I kind of went around everybody and asked what we do with it. And they're like, it goes in the bin, basically. Stop asking questions. That's just how it's always been done. And so I grew up watching Captain Planet, he tries to protect the environment and stop pollution and everything like that. So that didn't sit well with me as a person. So I went home to my partner at the time and told him about it, and he was studying his Master's of Business, so he knew how to set up the business side of it. So we started up the charity and it kind of has grown from there.
I love that Captain Planet had a hand in
absolutely.
the world-saving work that you're doing now.
There's a figurine and pride of place in the charity room.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
We should make a figurine out of you. That's what you should have got at the Community Spirit Awards, Claire. So what kind of a nurse, what the usual setting where you're working?
Yeah, so I work in an operating theatre and I either work as a scrub nurse or an anaesthetic nurse, but it was in my role as a scrub nurse that I was able to see a lot of this wastage just day in and day out.
So when you say gowns, gloves, syringes, this is just anything that may even be slightly contaminated, for lack of a better word. Is that because that's the standard in our hospitals, in Australian medical settings?
Yeah.
Who would want those items?
Well, we've sent them to animal rescue places closer to Brisbane. We send them off to Healthcare for the Homeless charities around Queensland, and we also send them to developing nations that don't really have anything. So being able to supply them with a clean item is just fantastic for them.
What kind of countries?
So we've gone to Papua New Guinea, Solomon Islands, Fiji, Ethiopia, Cambodia, and the list could go on, but we probably don't have that much time.
It's pretty incredible. How long have you been running the charity?
So we started in 2012, but I was living in a granny flat in my parents' backyard and I had a toddler running around and I was trying to finish my bachelor's. And then so once I had my second child and I finished my bachelor's and they were both at school, I was able to put a bit more effort into it. So probably about 2018, I was able to actually go kind of head first into it.
See, now we love you even more because it's not like you had a lot of spare time when you were Captain Planet inspired, determining how to make the world a better place. That's so great.
Yeah,
what was the reaction from your colleagues when you went, I actually think we could do something better with that gown?
Yeah, most of it was good. I had a little bit of mixed reactions just as far as if it doesn't meet our standards, why am I sending it to somebody else? And I kind of had to explain to the people that countries don't have anything, so to be able to send them clean items will affect their outcome amazingly. But mostly it was really great. Everybody was really happy. Everybody was going to get on board, so I didn't really kind of have to push people into it too much. Everybody just kind of went through and put the bin in the theatre and it just became part of our norm in our hospital.
You're listening to Claire Lane, who runs Save Our Supplies. It's a not-for-profit charity that repurposes clean medical waste from hospital settings so that it can be used by, as Claire said, in an animal rescue situation, perhaps for homeless health services, and indeed in a range of countries around the world. What's the goal? Do you hope that this sort of Save Our Supplies bin, for lack of a better word, becomes standard in hospitals across Australia?
Yeah, absolutely. My dream is to have it in every workplace policy in Australia. I want to go through Australia and then go to every developed country in the world just to make sure that nothing usable gets thrown away. But that is the end goal. I need to try to figure out how to secure funding so I can do it as my full-time position, because if I could do this as my job, I would have every hospital on board already.
Who are you asking for funding? Because, I mean, it's a form of foreign aid, if you like.
Yeah, absolutely. My background isn't business at all. It's nursing and health. Ask me about anatomy and physiology, I could talk for ages, but the business side of it, I kind of don't quite know where to start as far as who to approach for funding, like corporate funding, and where to go and who to talk to. And then a lot of the government funding has been like co-contribution basis. So like they give a government grant, we'll give you X amount of dollars, but you have to give us X amount back, and for a not-for-profit.
Yeah, you're not making any money.
No, not at the moment.
Are you still nursing as well as running Save Our Supplies?
Yeah, so I work 3 days a week. They're very good for me for being a single mother. I work 3 days, like 7 to 3:30 on the Wednesday, Thursday and Friday, and then I'm able to have the Monday and Tuesday off to put my focus in on Save Our Supplies. But the bigger it's growing, the harder it is trying to get everything done in those 2 days.
Yeah, plus those kids in the background too who are still growing up.
Yes, well, they're a good help now. They're a little bit older, so they do like to help. It kind of angers them a bit, so they come and help me sort out and have a whinge about how ridiculous it is that these things are getting thrown in the bin.
Yeah, this generation of kids are absolute
yes, I have faith in the next generation.
In terms of exactly that sort of Captain Planet sort of ethos. How many settings in Brisbane now would give you their clean medical waste?
Yeah, so we're up to about 13 hospitals now, and I have about 5 hospitals that are on the waiting list or about to join. It's just a matter of working out logistics with the executives of the hospital to kind of get it pushed through.
Are they public hospitals?
Mostly private hospitals. I am trying to get the public sector a little bit more on board. I do have public hospitals on board, but the majority of the hospitals that I collect from are from the private sector. And then I also have a few medical companies that I get pallets at a time of expired, like the last one I got was a pallet of expired gowns. So they didn't really know what to do with them. So
how does a gown expire?
That's a very good question. Basically, it doesn't. We just have to have, with our standards, you have to have it within a certain amount of time. But then, for example, you have a surgical gown that's expired. Just because you can't use it in a sterile operating theatre doesn't mean you can't use it in other areas of the hospital.
Yes.
So you could use it on the wards as like a PPE gown or things like that. But yeah.
I had a conversation not too long ago with a nurse who also made the same observation, that there is a lot of waste, some of it in order to maintain the standards that we expect, but you are really practically making a difference to changing that scenario. Do you ever get to hear back from places in PNG or Solomon Islands, Ethiopia, Cambodia, who are taking those supplies? What's their response?
Oh, they are incredibly thankful for it. We stocked a primary health clinic in Cambodia, and they had basically built the building that they needed, but they couldn't open and they couldn't do anything because they had no supplies. So what we sent them means that they could actually start seeing patients and everything. And we've had the maternity clinics that we've stocked, and they've actually got clean instrument trays and clean dishes that they can use and everything. So it's really heartwarming to hear everything back from these other countries. And
Claire, my goodness. That's more than heartwarming. That is life-changing. How do you reflect on that?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. It's a bit overwhelming for me. I'm happy with it. It's just, I don't know, it kind of goes against my nature to kind of boast about it a little bit too much, but it is really nice, and I'll keep doing it. Yeah,
we'll let us keep bathing you in the spotlight. Because you said you started off here in a granny flat.
Yes.
So where are you now?
Well, I've graduated to a house now.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm in Brisbane North Side, so we're still working out the back of my house. So what would have been the kids' playroom, I've turned into the charity room.
Yep.
Which we're trying to secure funding to get storage as well. And then so once I have storage, I'll actually be able to get all the people that want to come and volunteer. So I get a lot of emails from people that want to come and help, but because it's in my house, I can't have people that I don't know coming in and out of my house. So once I have a storage facility, I'd like to start sorting Sundays. So the first Sunday of every month, I'd like to get everyone over to kind of sort everything out.
Well, when you scale up, sorting Sundays can happen. Let's hope you can get that warehouse or whatever you need. And ideally, would you like Save Our Supplies to be your full-time charity?
Oh, absolutely. I would like to do it as my full-time job. I worked really hard to get my nursing. As I said, I had kids halfway through the bachelor's, so I would still work as a nurse because I'd like to keep my registration and everything. But if I could do this as my job, would be absolutely fantastic, because I always wanted to go and volunteer over where these supplies go to. So that would be the end goal, is try to get the charity up and running and be able to go over and actually help in these communities as well would be fantastic.
Well, we'd love to stay in touch to see if you can expand it. Well, you've already got 5 hospitals waiting to join your operation.
Yeah, and then I get an average of about 2 emails a week from interstate of hospitals wanting to join there as well.
Wow.
I'm actually going down to see my nana in a couple of weeks in Adelaide, and I've got 2 hospitals I have to visit down there to just have a chat. Yeah.
Drop into Nana, visit some hospitals. And
Indeed.
Wouldn't it make sense too for public hospitals to get involved as well? Because that would be a huge network across the country.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we'd love to stay in touch with you, Claire.
Oh, thank you.
To hear how things evolve and scale up. Thanks for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
And congratulations again on the ABC Community Spirit Award. Claire was one of the winners. You can check out all the winners online, abc.net.au/Brisbane. And if you want to find out more about what Claire Lane is up to, Save Our Supplies. That's the name of her charity.